Welcome to the Will Cain Show, live from Texas, where we begin with a Fox News alert. The day after. Right now, the images we're seeing out of Minneapolis are a lot like the ones we showed you at this time yesterday. Protesters in fierce standoff with law enforcement. It's a physical representation, physical images of the two sides emerging over one video. That video, now watched by millions, has fueled two completely polar narratives. And all within minutes. One side crying murder, the other domestic terror. It's an instant Rorschach test. What is clear, at least one bullet hole can clearly be seen through the front windshield, and that indicates the agent was in the car's path when that shot was fired. Regardless, like we've seen before, the divide is playing out intensely and immediately in the streets. Restraint, judgment, respect. Relying on a thorough investigation right now, that feels like the quaint, archaic remnants of a bygone era. Vice President Vance taking the media and Democrats and all of those who rush to judgment to task.
The president stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. Many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Tim Walz is a joke. His entire administration has been a joke. The idea that he's some sort of freedom fighter, he's not. He's a guy who has enabled fraud and maybe, in fact, has participated in fraud.
Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, typical deer in headlight eyes, jowls flapping, says, no, you're not hearing that from him, not inflammatory language.
I've not used inflammatory terms of what happened. I've asked us to find the answers. The only way we find the answers is a thorough investigation by nonpartisan professionals. We've delivered that. We've been able to do it. Everyone knows, globally, certainly here, that George Floyd, who was murdered a few blocks from this site, tore at the soul of who we were. But we healed. We built back trust.
No inflammatory language as he goes on in the very next breath to invoke George Floyd. Not to mention his casual statement suggesting that sitting there at his fingertips, at his disposal to stand off against the feds, is the National Guard.
I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I said this yesterday. We've never been at war with our federal government. I think in this case that the National Guard is their main mission. They have a dual mission. There's the federal mission when they're under Title 10 orders, and then they're under Title 32 orders. In this warning order, there's nothing officially been done yet. If I am to activate them as the Commander-in-Chief of the Minnesota National Guard, I will issue the executive order to the Minnesota National Guard.
We've never been at war with the federal government, suggesting he now is. Minnesota now is at war with the United States. And describing the National Guard not to quell protest, not to control riots, but to use the National Guard against President Donald J. Trump. We have not heard language like that since the 1960s, when state National Guards were employed to stop the federal integration of schools, including Little Rock, Arkansas in 1957, Mississippi in 1962, and Alabama in 1963. That is the insanity of this moment. Luckily, Vice President Vance took the reins and guided us back towards sanity.
The simple fact is, what you see is what you get in this case. You have a woman who was trying to obstruct a legitimate law enforcement operation. Nobody debates that. I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making and a tragedy of the far left who has marshaled an entire movement, a lunatic fringe, against our law enforcement officers.
Nevertheless, Mayor Jacob Fry, a somehow more feminine version of Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, Fry isn't making any apology for what he said yesterday.
I'm so sorry if I offended their Disney princess ears, but here's the thing. if we're talking about what's inflammatory, on the one hand, you got someone who dropped an F-bomb, and on the other hand, you got someone who killed somebody else. F-bomb, killing somebody. I think the more inflammatory action is killing somebody.
Here's an inflammatory word, the one that's going viral. It's like a tick. It's being repeated by almost every Democrat.
This was not unexpected, but it is egregious. It was an outright murder. This officer not only needs to be fired and suspended, but based on the video, he needs to be charged with murder.
At the end of the day, what we saw today is a murder. And murders in cold blood need to be prosecuted.
There are going to be protests around this entire country because of the state-sanctioned execution that we all saw unfold, unless there is some kind of justice that takes place.
State-sanctioned execution. Murder, that's the word we also heard used from Congressman Seth Moulton. He wrote on X, Tom Homan, stop lying to the American people. This was not self-defense. This was the murder of an innocent woman. Congressman Moulton will be on, and I will ask him about that statement a little bit later in the show. Now, you'd think they'd put the brakes on that kind of language when you look at history. When you look at, for example, right here in this city, a man who opened fire, an assassination attempt, a real assassination attempt in your home state, Congresswoman Crockett, at a Dallas ICE facility just last year. By the way, that attempted assassination ended up in the result of the murder of an illegal immigrant. But that action, that consequence, that didn't dial back Democrats. That didn't rein in rhetoric. And as we speak, people are doxing ICE agents. They're tracking them live, demonizing them. Maybe they feel empowered by people like failed late-night host Jimmy Kimmel.
That is the shirt I want to see. To ICE. Get the out of Minneapolis. Get the out of all of these cities.
That was the less offensive version of what he had to say and show. He also showed a T-shirt that said, Donald Trump wants to kill you. He's taken what's happened in Minneapolis and showing his public, small as it may be, that Donald Trump is responsible for murder. And he doesn't want to stop with a terrible tragedy in Minneapolis. He wants to kill you, says the quote-unquote comedian. No wonder his ratings. Bottom line, too many political disagreements, debates, discussions. They're just over. They're cast aside. Now we're in the era of violence. And the vice president says most in this business, in the media, playing along and begging for this.
I'm sorry, guys. What's going on here? You guys are meant to report the truth. How have you let yourself become agents of propaganda of a radical fringe that's making it harder for us to enforce our laws? You just asked me a question that presumed that the reason why this woman died is because she was engaged in legitimate protest. She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened. Next question.
Everybody's in on it. The media, the politicians, everybody's in on George Floyd 2026. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.